Ladies and gentlemen, success is rarely stolen from us overnight. It is not always taken by dramatic failures or loud defeats. More often, it is quietly eroded by habits, thoughts, and choices so subtle that we fail to notice them. Until one day, we look back and wonder how our dreams slipped so far away. Today, I want to talk to you about those hidden forces, the 7 silent killers of success. The first silent killer is procrastination, that gentle voice that whispers, "You can do it tomorrow." Tomorrow feels safe, comfortable, but tomorrow has buried more dreams than failure ever could. Every time you delay what matters, you train your mind to believe that your goals are optional, and success never visits those who treat their purpose like a spare hobby. The second killer is fear of failure. It doesn't scream, it disguises itself as caution, as perfectionism, as waiting for the right time. But the truth is simple: the right time rarely arrives. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. If you allow fear to lead, you will spend your life standing on the edge of greatness, never daring to step forward. The third is lack of self-belief. When you doubt your worth, your talent, your voice, you unconsciously shrink your world. You stop applying, you stop asking, you stop trying, not because you cannot succeed, but because somewhere along the way, you decided you were not enough, and that decision becomes a prison. The fourth silent killer is negative self-talk. The stories you tell yourself shape the life you live. If your inner voice constantly reminds you of your flaws, but never your strengths, you start to operate from scarcity instead of power. Your mind is your most powerful tool, or your most dangerous enemy. The fifth killer is poor time management. Time is not money. Time is life, and how you spend it defines who you become. When distraction takes priority over direction, potential fades into excuses. Every wasted hour is a silent agreement to remain where you are. The sixth is the comfort zone. Comfort feels warm and familiar, but it is also where ambition goes to sleep. Nothing extraordinary grows in ordinary conditions. When you stop challenging yourself, you stop evolving, and what does not grow slowly dies. And finally, the seventh silent killer is the absence of purpose. When you don't know why you're doing something, motivation fades, effort weakens, discipline collapses. Purpose is the fire that keeps you moving when the path is dark and the climb feels heavy. But here is the truth I want you to carry with you today. Awareness is power. The moment you recognize these silent killers, they lose their control. Success is not reserved for a chosen few. It belongs to those who choose courage over comfort, action over excuses, and belief over doubt. You were not born to live a small, silent, hesitant life. You were created to rise, to build, to transform, and to leave a mark that speaks long after you have left the room. So silence the killers, strengthen your vision, and step boldly into the life that has been waiting for your permission. Success does not usually collapse in a single dramatic moment, nor does it vanish because of one major mistake that everyone can see. More often, it fades away slowly, silently, and almost invisibly through small habits and repeated behaviors that seem harmless at first. These quiet habits do not announce themselves as dangerous. They do not come with warning signs or urgent alarms, yet they gradually weaken the foundation of our goals, our discipline, and our potential. Over time, what we ignore becomes what defines us, and what we repeatedly tolerate becomes the very reason we fall short. Every day, we make countless small choices. We choose whether to wake up on time or hit the snooze button again. We choose whether to work on our goals or scroll through distractions. We choose whether to confront challenges or avoid them. Individually, these choices may seem insignificant, but collectively, they form the direction of our lives. Ignoring a simple task, delaying responsibility, or choosing comfort over effort might feel minor in the moment. Yet when these actions become habits, they quietly rewrite the story of our future. The most dangerous part of these habits is their subtlety. Procrastination feels gentle, self-doubt feels familiar, excuses feel reasonable, and comfort feels safe. But safety without growth leads to stagnation, and stagnation slowly suffocates success. When you repeatedly tell yourself, "I will start tomorrow," you are not just postponing a task, you are training your mind to associate delay with normal behavior. And over time, this normal behavior becomes your character. Success is not only about grand achievements and powerful moments. It is about the invisible consistency that happens when no one is watching. is built in the early mornings, the late nights, the moments of discipline, and the decisions to keep going when motivation fades. When these moments are ignored, when effort becomes optional, and when standards are lowered, success begins to erode not with noise but with silence. Many people believe failure is the opposite of success, but in reality, neglect is far more dangerous than failure. Failure teaches, challenges, and strengthens, while neglect weakens and slowly dismantles the structure of ambition. Ignoring your own potential, overlooking your responsibilities, and dismissing the importance of daily progress slowly create a gap between where you are and where you could have been. Every habit you form either moves you closer to success or pulls you further away. The way you speak to yourself, the standards you set, the discipline you practice, and the effort you apply are all shaping your future. Success does not demand perfection, but it does demand awareness. Awareness of your choices, awareness of your patterns, and awareness of the silent routines that shape your identity. The unfortunate truth is that most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they are inconsistent, unfocused, and unwilling to confront the small behaviors that hold them back. They underestimate the power of daily discipline and overestimate the impact of occasional motivation. But motivation fades and discipline remains. It is discipline that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. When you finally recognize the habits that are quietly sabotaging your progress, you also gain the power to change them. You begin to understand that success is not a destination reached by chance, but a direction maintained by conscious choice. Every time you replace a negative habit with a productive one, you reinforce your commitment to growth. Every time you choose action over delay, you reclaim control over your future. In the end, success is not lost in loud moments of chaos, it is lost in the quiet moments of compromise. It is lost when you choose ease over effort, comfort over courage, and excuses over responsibility. But the same silence that destroys success can also build it. When you cultivate discipline, consistency, and awareness in your daily life, you transform silence into strength. Beware of the habits you ignore, because they do not remain small forever. They grow, they shape, and they decide the fate of your dreams. Choose wisely, act intentionally, and remember that true success begins not in grand declarations, but in the quiet commitment to do what must be done every single day. The second silent killer of success is the comfort zone, that warm, familiar space where dreams slowly go to sleep and potential quietly fades away. It feels safe, it feels predictable, and it feels easy, but that is exactly why it is so dangerous. The comfort zone does not announce its destruction loudly. It whispers, it soothes, and it convinces you that where you are is good enough, even when your soul knows you were meant for more. The comfort zone is not just a place, it is a mindset. It is the voice that tells you to stay where you are because trying something new might be uncomfortable. It is the habit of choosing familiarity over growth, ease over effort, and routine over risk. Many people mistake comfort for peace, but peace that prevents progress is not peace, it is paralysis. True growth has never lived inside comfort. It has always existed on the other side of fear. When you remain in your comfort zone, you stop stretching your abilities. You stop challenging your limits. You begin to repeat the same patterns, the same excuses, and the same results. Days turn into months, and months turn into years, while the version of you that could have been stronger, wiser, and more successful remains unexplored. Success does not come to those who wait for perfect conditions. It comes to those who are willing to step into the unknown with courage and faith. The comfort zone often disguises itself as practicality. It tells you not to start because you are not ready. It tells you not to speak because you might fail. It tells you not to try because someone might judge you. But readiness is not a feeling, it is a decision. Confidence is not a gift, it is built in moments of discomfort. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you silently sabotage your own progress. Growth demands discomfort. Every successful individual has faced seasons of uncertainty, moments of doubt, and situations that forced them to rise beyond what they thought was possible. They did not grow because it was easy. They grew because they refused to stay small. They understood that comfort may feel good in the moment, but it costs too much in the long run. It costs your dreams, your evolution, and your true purpose. You cannot discover new oceans if you are afraid to lose sight of the shore. The comfort zone keeps you anchored to familiar ground, but success requires movement. It requires you to take risks, to try again after failure, to say yes when fear says no. Every breakthrough begins with a bold step into discomfort, and every transformation starts with the decision to outgrow your current self. Ask yourself this question: are you living or are you settling? Are you growing or are you surviving? The comfort zone makes survival look like success, but mere survival is not what you were created for. You were created to expand, to evolve, to rise, and to become more than you ever imagined. Breaking free from the comfort zone begins with awareness. You must first recognize where you are playing it safe. Then you must challenge those limits intentionally. Do something that scares you. Speak up when you usually remain silent. Take the opportunity you have been avoiding. Every small act of courage weakens the power of comfort and strengthens your path towards success. Success requires boldness, and boldness requires discomfort. Choose growth over ease. Choose progress over predictability. Choose the unfamiliar path that leads to your highest potential. Because the moment you step outside your comfort zone, you step into the space where greatness lives, and that is where your true success begins. Lack of self-belief is one of the most destructive silent killers of success because it works quietly, patiently, and persistently from within. It does not need external opposition to stop you. It convinces you to stop yourself. When you do not believe in your own abilities, your intelligence, or your worth, you begin to limit your potential long before the world ever tries to. You hesitate where you should act, you doubt where you should trust, and you retreat where you should rise. Self-belief is the foundation of every great achievement. It is the inner voice that says, I can try, even when the odds seem impossible. Without it, every challenge feels heavier, every opportunity feels undeserved, and every dream feels unrealistic. You begin to compare yourself to others, measuring your journey against their highlight reels, and slowly you convince yourself that you are not good enough, not talented enough, or not worthy enough to succeed. This lack of belief often begins quietly, shaped by past failures, criticism, rejection, or negative experiences. A single discouraging moment can grow into a lifelong story if you allow it to define you. You start interpreting setbacks as proof of your limitations instead of lessons for growth. Over time, this mindset becomes your identity, and you operate from a place of fear rather than confidence. When you lack self-belief, you sabotage your own progress. You avoid taking risks. You stop applying for opportunities. You silence your ideas in meetings. You choose safety over growth, not because you cannot handle more, but because you do not trust yourself to succeed. This inner hesitation becomes a barrier more powerful than any external obstacle. The most dangerous part of lacking self-belief is that it feels normal. You become comfortable with underestimating yourself. You start accepting less than you deserve. You settle for mediocrity while your potential waits silently for recognition. You may even convince yourself that staying small is being realistic, when in truth, it is simply fear wearing a mask. Rebuilding self-belief begins with changing the conversation you have with yourself. Your inner dialogue shapes your outer reality. Every time you say, I can't, your mind obeys. Every time you say, I am capable, your confidence grows. It is not about arrogance. It is about recognizing your value and honoring your ability to learn, grow, and improve. Self-belief is strengthened through action. Confidence is not built by waiting, it is built by doing. Each small step forward, each effort made despite doubt, reinforces the message that you are capable. You begin to trust yourself because you see proof in your own actions. Progress, no matter how slow, is evidence of power. It is important to remember that nobody starts with perfect confidence. Every successful person has faced moments of self-doubt. The difference is that they refused to let doubt define their destiny. They chose to believe in their vision even when others did not. They chose persistence when fear tried to paralyze them. They chose growth when comfort tried to trap them. You must learn to see yourself as a work in progress, not a finished product. Mistakes do not reduce your worth. Failure does not cancel your potential. Every experience adds to your strength, your wisdom, and your resilience. When you begin to appreciate your journey instead of judging it, your self-belief will naturally expand. True success begins the moment you decide to trust yourself. When you honor your voice, your dreams, and your abilities, you unlock doors that once seemed unreachable. You stop asking for permission to exist and start claiming your space in the world. Lack of self-belief is a silent killer, but is not unbeatable. It fades the moment you choose to stand with yourself instead of against yourself. Believe in who you are becoming, trust the process, and remember that the greatest investment you will ever make is belief in your own potential. Fear of failure is one of the most powerful, silent killers of success because it operates deep within the mind, shaping decisions, weakening courage, and limiting action long before any real obstacle appears. It does not always show itself as panic or anxiety. More often, it appears as hesitation, overthinking, perfectionism, or the constant search for the right moment. In reality, it is simply fear disguising itself as logic, protecting you from discomfort while imprisoning your true potential. When you fear failure, you begin to see mistakes as disasters instead of lessons. You attach your self-worth to outcomes rather than effort. You believe that if you fail, you are not good enough, not smart enough, or not worthy enough. This mindset transforms every challenge into a threat and every opportunity into a risk to your identity. Instead of moving forward, you freeze. Instead of trying, you postpone. Instead of growing, you remain stuck. This fear often develops from past experiences, criticism, rejection, or social pressure. A single failure can echo in your mind for years if you allow it to define you. You start to avoid situations that test your abilities. You choose comfort over challenge. You settle for less than you desire, not because you lack talent, but because you fear what might happen if you try and fail. Slowly, this fear becomes your decision maker. Fear of failure also creates perfectionism, a silent enemy disguised as high standards. You tell yourself you are waiting until everything is perfect, but perfection rarely arrives. So you wait. And while you wait, opportunities pass. Time moves on, and your dreams lose momentum. You begin to confuse preparation with delay and caution with wisdom, when in fact you are simply allowing fear to control your progress. The truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Every successful individual has failed repeatedly, sometimes painfully, sometimes publicly, but always with purpose. Failure teaches what success cannot. It reveals weaknesses, sharpens skills, and strengthens resilience. Without it, growth remains shallow and potential remains undeveloped. When you begin to reframe failure as feedback instead of defeat, your relationship with fear changes. You start seeing mistakes as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. You understand that every attempt, successful or not, moves you forward. This mindset shift transforms fear into fuel. It encourages experimentation, learning, and continuous improvement. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to move forward despite it. Every time you act while feeling afraid, you weaken fear's grip and strengthen your confidence. Action builds clarity. Action builds strength. Action proves to you that you are capable of more than your doubts suggest. Fear of failure also robs you of authenticity. It makes you play small, avoid expressing your true ideas, and hide your real ambitions. You start living for approval instead of purpose. You measure your choices by how safe they are, not by how meaningful they could be. In doing so, you silence your own voice and trade potential greatness for temporary security. Overcoming fear of failure begins with acceptance. Accept that failure is inevitable. Accept that mistakes are part of learning. Accept that progress is messy and growth is uncomfortable. When you stop trying to avoid failure and start embracing it as part of your journey, you break the chains that bind you. You must also learn to separate your identity from your outcomes. You are not your mistakes. You are not your losses. You are a work in progress, evolving through every experience. When you understand this, failure loses its power to define you. Success belongs to those who dare to try, who dare to fall, and who dare to rise again. Fear of failure only wins when you allow it to stop you. But the moment you choose action over avoidance, courage over comfort, and growth over stagnation, fear begins to fade. Remember, the greatest regret is not failing, but never trying at all. And the boldest victory is not avoiding failure, but rising stronger because of it. Free yourself from the invisible chains of fear and step forward into the life your courage has been waiting to create. Poor time management is one of the most underestimated silent killers of success, yet it has the power to slowly drain your energy, weaken your focus, and steal your future without warning. Time is the one resource every person shares equally, yet the difference between mediocrity and excellence often lies in how wisely that time is used. When time is not managed with intention, it controls you instead of serving you, and your dreams begin to fade into unfinished plans and forgotten goals. Many people believe they simply do not have enough time, when in truth, the issue is not lack of time but lack of direction. A day filled with distraction, procrastination, and unplanned activities may feel busy, but it is rarely productive. You move from task to task, notification to notification, obligation to obligation, yet at the end of the day, you feel exhausted with little to show for it. This is the destructive pattern of poor time management, where effort exists but progress does not. When you fail to structure your time, you allow urgency to replace importance. You begin reacting instead of creating. You answer the loudest demands instead of prioritizing the most meaningful goals. As a result, long-term dreams are constantly postponed while short-term distractions dominate your schedule. This habit silently programmed to accept delay as normal and excuses as reasonable. Time mismanagement also leads to increased stress and mental fatigue. When tasks pile up and deadlines approach, you feel overwhelmed. Anxiety replaces clarity and pressure replaces purpose. Instead of moving forward with confidence, you operate in constant survival mode. This cycle weakens your performance and diminishes your passion, making success feel more like a burden than an achievement. True time management is not about working all the time. It is about working with purpose. It is about understanding what truly matters and aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision. When you control your time, you take control of your life. You decide where your energy goes, what your priorities are, and how your future is shaped. Effective time management begins with clarity. You must know what you want before you can manage time effectively. Clear goals provide direction, and direction creates focus. When your priorities are defined, you stop wasting energy on unnecessary tasks and start investing in actions that move you forward. You become intentional instead of impulsive. Planning is another crucial element. A well-structured plan turns chaos into order. It allows you to see your day, your week, and your goals clearly. It minimizes confusion and maximizes efficiency. Planning does not restrict freedom, it creates it. When your time is organized, your mind becomes calmer, your actions more powerful, and your results more consistent. Another silent danger of poor time management is the inability to say no. When you agree to everything, you sacrifice what truly matters. You fill your schedule with responsibilities that do not align with your purpose, leaving no space for growth, creativity, or rest. Saying no is not selfish, it is strategic. It protects your focus and preserves your progress. Time management also teaches discipline. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. When you respect your time, you respect your goals. When you follow through on your plans, you build trust in yourself. This trust strengthens confidence, and confidence fuels momentum. It is important to remember that time once lost cannot be recovered. Every hour wasted is an opportunity gone. Every day ignored is a step delayed. But when you start valuing time, you start valuing yourself. You begin to see each moment as an investment rather than an expense. Success is not sudden. It is the result of daily choices, and time is the stage where those choices unfold. Those who master time master their direction. Those who respect time create progress, and those who prioritize time build legacies. Poor time management is a silent thief, but awareness turns it into a powerful tool. When you learn to organize, prioritize, and protect your time, you unlock the ability to move steadily toward your goals. And in that control, you discover the true power to shape a life of purpose, clarity, and lasting success. As we bring this speech to a close, one truth stands clear: success is not destroyed by dramatic failures, but by quiet habits, unnoticed doubts, and repeated compromises we make with ourselves. The 7 silent killers of success do not attack with noise or chaos. They work subtly through hesitation, fear, comfort, distraction, and self-doubt. Left unchallenged, they slowly weaken ambition and blur the vision of who you are meant to become. But here is the powerful realization: these killers only survive in the absence of awareness. Once you recognize them, you take back control. You regain the ability to choose discipline over delay, courage over fear, purpose over confusion, and growth over comfort. True success is forged not in perfect conditions, but in moments when you decide to rise even when it feels uncomfortable, uncertain, or exhausting. Your mindset, your habits, and your daily choices build the foundation of your future. When you silence negative voices, manage your time with intention, believe in your potential, and step beyond your comfort zone, you break free from invisible chains. You transform struggle into strength and intention into achievement. So let this not be just a speech, but a turning point. Today, choose clarity, choose commitment. Choose progress. Refuse to let silence steal your success. Stand firm, act boldly, and remember, greatness is not found, it is created, one disciplined decision at a time. Your success journey begins with awareness, continues with action, and is completed with unwavering belief in yourself.